Hey, before I get started, I just want to say just awesome work to everyone that's been presenting before me. And you've covered so much of kind of what I want to say. We overlap so much. It's awesome. So just following on with Susan's question about music, I think uh, that's a passion for me, activities for our older seniors, particularly people living with dementia and the barriers a lot of them face. We need to be working hard to give them the access to these things that they love. Music is a profound piece of all of our lives. I've only met one or two people in my life that do not feel music. Um, but most people, all of us, have very strong memories related to music, and it's a great way to meet with somebody that has dementia. Um, I think one of the things that I've found, and it ties in obviously with what someone was saying earlier about maintaining people's independence. And one of the things I've got is the simple radio. And it's been designed specifically for people with dementia so they can maintain their independence with the music without feeling the agitation of having to actually use some of the modern radios, which have a lot of buttons and switches, and it can be quite hard to manage. So this is an awesome way to give someone access to their music. And what I particularly like about those, or the radio that I have as well, is that as someone's dementia progresses and it might become a bit harder for them to manage, the radio will still be there, and the music player part will still be there so that caregivers and family can actually access the music that this person loves regularly.
Yeah, because it's a combination, isn't it? It's got a simple on-off button and a volume. That's the only big clear buttons. And then it's got four buttons that you can have your favorite radio stations with the labels for them, and you just push the button. But then you also have your own playlist. So you can just push the button and you've got your own music that you love. And I think we just almost take it for granted now, that idea that everyone can have their own playlist in life. But it's actually quite a special concept, isn't it? That we can find out what brings people joy and it can be personalized to them. That's it's a really
Totally.
profound thing.
Yeah, because we're all different. Our playlist will be different from one person to the next. If you put heavy metal on, if it was me, I'd be going insane. I don't want to hear that stuff. Give me the sound of music.
And it's just like Simon was saying, it's also working with people to find out what they like. Because just like the VR headsets, some people love being immersed in sound with headphones, but other people hate them.
That's right. And what I love about this as well, and unfortunately, I still have seen this in places where I've gone, is that the music that the staff put on, even in someone's room, is obvious. A lot of the times, it's the FM channel. It has
Mm.
doesn't relate at all to that person, and if that person is at the stage now where they perhaps cannot manage the buttons themselves, then this simple radio really ensures that what is played in front of that person is really speaks to their heart when it comes to music. There won't be any blaring heavy rock channels or something unless they like it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And there's also some technologies around music that are around creating music, aren't there?
Yes, yes, there's some beautiful equipment out there now that is totally interactive. I think Orchidia will be the one that can actually speak more on that. I know she's
Yeah. Because you were
been
saying,
into that technology as she does,
because
but
there's a cushion, isn't there, that you can interact with.
the InMu. And again, Okedi will be able to tell you more about that too. She's a whiz when it comes to all the technology for therapeutic uses. But the InMu is a beautiful device that has been designed to be totally interactive with people. So there's no right or wrong with the music that it makes. And it's a very calming device, but also it can also be a very joyful device. But again, I will leave that to Orchidia to follow through.
Yeah. I love that idea of
Yes.
joy. I was actually reading someone this week who said, we talk such a lot about lifespan, but maybe we should be thinking about joy span.
Yeah.
Expanding out our joy spans. Now, when people are further down the journey, sensory things can become really a special way of connecting and supporting people, can't they? And I know that there's lots of different ways that this may come into play, but I think if we have Tracy here, we have Tracy to model one of the things that you have brought in. So Tracy, would you be able to show people the hug?
I can.
So this is something that came up through a co-design process. Would you like to talk us through this?
And Linda can help as
and-
well because we got it from Linda. But ideally, one of the concerns that we've had is on one of the wards that we're working in, we're getting a lot of people that are coming in that are quite distressed, and they are actually at quite a sensory level. So that's the level in which we're needing to try and engage with that person. So, and I'm a big believer about heartbeat. And that can have quite an impact on how people are actually feeling. So the hug has actually been designed with a lot of input from people living with dementia, I understand. It's got a very weird face, but actually most people that have seen it thinks it's really cute. I just thought it was quite sloth-like, but I think maybe it's so it doesn't have a huge amount of detail, so a person doesn't have to feel that they need to know who that person or what that face might represent, or it doesn't have emotions that person needs to regulate other than a beautiful wee smile. Anyway, so it's got little arms that have been weighted, and they do hang around. And whilst I wasn't certain about it, I have to say that everybody that's come into my office and had a snuggle has not wanted to let it go. And wanted to keep it. But Susan and I have also had a bit of a tutu with it. And I don't know whether you can hear this, but I'll try and play you the heartbeat. Can you guys hear that? Don't know where my speaker is here. You can hear that. Yeah. Yeah. And then overlaying that, you can have the individual's music. So don't blame us on the choice of music. We just downloaded something.
Oh, no, can't hear that, funnily, but I love the dance.
Oh, that's good. Okay, that's not that great a music, but for me, definitely the heartbeat is something that I thought was useful. So I guess for me, it's also thinking that I've often used a technique called the hand pump, which just means that when you're walking with a person that's quite distressed, you can hold their hand, and there's a wee gentle movement that you can do in the palm of their hand, and that can actually help to ground that person, but it can be done at the pace of a heart rate. But for me, I'm also thinking about when we don't have the physical resource to actually be constantly with that person, what other options have we got? So I think, again, it's about having those options for individual people. So, and I think that someone mentioned it before, that we don't always have those resources. So it's really nice to have a toolkit of options for individuals. I also think that we've had people on the ward that have got English as a second language, and whilst we've been very lucky to have a lovely diverse group of staff members, it's nice to be able to have music options for those individuals that are relatable to their memory banks, if that makes sense. Yeah. So this wee guy, whilst I was unsure, I have to say she is winning me over.
And one of the things, I guess, with something like Hug is that
Yep.
it's quite different. And do you have any sort of tips about how you go about kind of introducing something
Sure.
that might involve technology or might not, that's a bit
Sure.
new with people?
Yeah, sure. And I think a lot of people have mentioned that before. It's entirely on ensuring that we're observing how that person is responding. So first and foremost, I think that I generically, even if it's a weighted modality, a weighted dog, I mean, I do remember we really have to make sure that it's not going to cause trauma. So I had one lady that asked if I would introduce a dog to her mother. And I just checked in to make sure that pets were something that was in her vocab. And she said, "Oh, no, we have working dogs outside." And I said, "I'm not sure that this is going to work, but I'll gently give it a go." And the woman looked at the dog and just went, "Oh, for God's sake, get that outside." So that wasn't going to work for her. So I think it is just making sure that we're on track. So for something like this chap here, I would generically have it with me, maybe just sitting it on my knee, see if I can get it within that person's visual field, see what their responses are. If they're more of a sensory person, I might gently just pop it. If I've got their hand, I might just gently put their hand onto it so they can feel how soft it is, look at how they're responding, and then gently see if they want to take that on. And then I think because this has got it's got a lovely detachable sound piece, you could actually do them separately. So you could actually introduce the sound if you're worried about that, as a separate entity to Hug before you actually introduce them. Yeah.
Lovely, thank you. I think that's again that idea of personalization, that
Mm.
you're going at that person's pace, you're seeing
Yeah.
what works for them.
Yeah.
One size never fits all, does
No,
it?
no. And I might not be the right person to introduce it. We might have to find someone that the family introduced it that might be more accepting. So it just really depends. But I have to say, he's quite delicious.
Thank you, Tracy. So, Linda, I think that one of the things that sort of came up when we were talking about some of these things is the idea that giving people a chance to explore. So these are things that people can kind of explore at all different stages, but that there's not a right or wrong, is there? That people can just interact with things on their own terms.
Absolutely. It has to be that way. Otherwise, people will be put off from even trying. And it's already been mentioned. Play is the sense of play that doesn't die as we get older. It's there, and play is open. And we just the way I was taught was looking at it like a dance. And we take our cues from that person with dementia and dance with them. And they're the ones that lead it. And
That's lovely. Yeah.
it's whatever they want it to be. And often, sometimes I've been surprised with that dance where they lead me, because I'm going, oh, I've never thought of that. That's fantastic. If you see a big smile on their face, or that sense of joy coming from them, then that's all that counts. Because
Oh.
all of those feel good hormones do wonderful things in our body. It's been proven. And that's what we need. Even if someone can't remember half an hour ago what they did, it doesn't matter. Those hormones are still doing great things in their body. And that's all that counts. So,
Oh.
and comforted, and that's, it was something Tracy mentioned, which I think is one of the most amazing things about this technology, and it taps into what everyone before me's done, which I just love. I've seen it happen in the time that I've been working with people with dementia, when I've used Paro, when I've used robotic animals, now with Hug, is that you can cross some of those boundaries, like cultural boundaries. I saw something beautiful many years ago with an elderly Chinese woman with dementia. You know, I won't go into the whole scene, but it was quite profound to see how this robotic animal crossed that language barrier. She had never learnt English, and now in this secure dementia unit, there wasn't anyone that spoke her language, so there's a barrier for her. But this animal crossed that barrier and gave her the greatest sense of joy. She just came out of herself completely, and she was talking, and all the pain that she had been experiencing, it was all gone.
Fantastic, isn't it? And I think one of the other things, you know, we talked about music, and art can be one of those things, even for people who've never been artists. And I know that we have Emma February Richards up in Wellington has been developing some digital apps that people can just explore and make apps. And we're really looking forward to when those come out into the world. But I know one of the things that you have that we happen to have to use here is a different type of technology. It's not digital technology, but it's another way of just cleverness, isn't it? In terms of you've actually got some reusable art materials, haven't you?
I'm telling you, that's one of the best things that I've ever had. And I just love the aqua paints. I just absolutely love them because they've been designed, and this is the thing we're talking about. If we want people to enjoy activities of any kind, and we've talked about it, it needs to be culturally sensitive, it needs to be something that reaches them at a personal level that they can relate to. When I first started, um, when I first opened my business, I opened it because all that was available in New Zealand was children's toys.
Yeah.
And apart from not being dignified, the content didn't reach those people at all. It was meaningless. It has to be meaningful. So those aqua paints are awesome. And that is a kind of technology. The ones that we might have used, people might remember magic paints from when they were young. They rubbed off and created a terrible mess, and you couldn't use them again. So technology is advanced with that to the degree now that you can keep reusing them. And if you look after them, I had mine for years, and I was going all over the country illustrating, and those things got used a lot, and they just lasted because they were so well made,
Oh,
and they have all the beautiful themes and pictures appropriate for adults to use. And
thank you so much, Linda. I love the way that you just light up when you are thinking about people and activities. And we have a comment through from Winifred just saying absolutely about the happiness that it doesn't matter if you remember it. And there's a quote I love that says that enjoyment doesn't require memory.
mm,
Yeah. So thank you so much.